so sweet and super, super sexy.
I want to say more.
Gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous, sexy, and also...
I want to have it too. She's inspirational. She's made me a sex bomb, and I was too scared to be that before.
You've got women in here that are just absolute sex bombs, like just ridiculously good-looking sex bombs, not because of the physicality, but because of their energy and the way that they express.
Universal medicine uses sexual imagery to market its products and services. Its proprietor, Serge Benhayon's esoteric teachings on sex and gender underpin the healing modalities he devised.
The key aspect of EBM is to activate, not stimulate, but activate energy in the sides of the breast. So a woman can start to feel the subtleness of energy, the subtleties of her own delicateness, and eventually essentially connect back to her cervix where her sacredness is.
Hi, I'm Esther. What we see in universal medicine's approach to sex is mixed messages. wants it both ways. The corporation tries to be sexy and puritanical at the same time. It wants to profit from sexualized messages, but denies that those are objectifying.
And all this understanding coming from a man, but it's not a man that is objectifying and is fascinated or is captured sexually or otherwise to the breast. It's coming from a practitioner who understands the body of a man and the body of a woman. And in that holistic approach, I got to feel that essentially women weren't looking after that part of their body, and they just assumed that it was either for babies or for sexual attraction, and not really a very, very, very delicate part of their body that is very connected to their lymphatics and therefore open to energy and sensitivities. And I've never ever performed an esoteric breast massage on any person whatsoever, man or woman. But the reason for the esoteric breast massage being a modality that is practiced by women for women is for the practitioner to also bring that tenderness and connection to the woman that is the missing ingredient when we are introducing something that has been lost. It's a modality that asks a woman to connect to herself. And in that connection, to bring that body to her partner, be it another woman or a man, it doesn't matter, or to their children, to her parents, whatever it may be. And not a body that is purely seen as function. One of the stipulations that I expressed on that day was to try to avoid as much as possible the nipple area, so that there's no insinuation or stimulation whatsoever. That as light as possible on the nipple was the only stimulation, of course, apart from being very, very delicate. Of course, it's very difficult to not do that, and a lot of women, once they get comfortable, will allow that to occur.
At the same time that it sells the idea of women massaging each other's breasts as a healing, espouses primitive, occult ideas about politics and the female body. Benhayon markets esoteric women's health modalities like esoteric breast massage with his claim that women's efforts to achieve equal rights don't fit his ideal of how women should behave. He says women have brought about attacks on their bodies by male energy.
Certainly the West has opened up the ancestral type spiritual cultures that have traditionally suppressed women, and the West has shown that women, are equals and can hold their own in with men in society. The problem is that As I said back in 1999 and in 2000, equality has been fought and won in the West by the women moving into a much more male energy. And whilst it appears as though there is equality, it isn't true in the sense that it hasn't been won by the essence of what a woman truly is. It's been won by a woman who has essentially fought herself to the top, or have fought herself into that equality. And they're paying for it by the virtues of endometriosis, ovarian cancer, breast cancer. And our bodies, or the women's bodies, are showing they're paying the price. What we are seeing today is that the inordinate growth of breast cancer, the fact of endometriosis now happening in younger and younger women, period issues, ovarian cancer, and a whole swag of other conditions that escape me right now, are the results of the fact that society has been far too much in the male energy, particularly in the Western side, and women are being under the impact of that. And so we've got to have a look at what exactly is the women's body showing us in the current way we are running society.
Benhayon also claims women's normal behaviours and attitudes, such as expressing emotion and caring for other people, result in disease. pushes an idea that babies interfere with women's relationships with their breasts. Serge also positions himself as an authority on making love, but his ideas present a challenge to maintaining intimate relationships. He teaches that emotions are the cause of all diseases, and that love has no emotion in it. Last year I posted audio excerpts of him talking about entities raping women and children in households where liquor is consumed, and talking about sexual abuse of children and how those victims are receiving karmic payback for being an abuser in a past life. He also teaches that consensual sexual activity is sexual abuse.
How can you say it was sexual abuse? You know it's sexual abuse because inside you, you know what making love is. Therefore, any form of sex is sexual abuse.
That idea is propagated by universal medicine practitioners. A woman wrote about this in a testimonial account on the Women in Livingness blog. The practitioner tried to blame the woman's aversion on a history of sexual abuse. When the woman said she had no such history, the practitioner persuaded her that consensual sex that she'd had as an adult and enjoyed was in fact sexual abuse. The practitioner also persuaded the client that her prior sex life had caused her gynecological conditions. Universal medicine offers healings for sexual abuse. It teaches those practices to its student body. One involves touching the pubic area with a claim that it's a technique for rape recovery. Other techniques involve touching of the anal region and the breasts, purportedly to assist certain emotional conditions. Similarly, the esoteric breast massage practitioners are trained under a flimsy premise that the modality helps women reconnect with their bodies. Benhayon's daughter Natalie is the proprietor of Esoteric Women's Health Proprietary Limited, which markets esoteric breast massage services and training courses. Like her father, she has no formal qualifications or higher educational achievements, but she has been working and presenting for the firm since she was an adolescent. Natalie is also behind the Girl to Woman Festival, which targets children. It's been promoted in schools without disclosure that it's a commercial event backed by an occult religion. She led a failed initiative, Sexual Education and Life Foundations for Youth, which was launched at the 2016 festival. Sexuality and physical contact are also among the means employs to encourage bonding within its community. Natalie is out front with esoteric sexiness, an assumed expert on what is true sexy. She used sexiness as a gimmick to raise over $125,000 to launch her Natalie with Love TV career. That didn't quite eventuate. At the same time, Universal Medicine offers dating advice based on the notion that sexiness is not about sex. Natalie has a similar message as instructor for occult dance regimes, true movement and sacred movement.
Thank you.
There's as much joy in my body to create movement like that with the tambourines. And to me, the joy is not the movement. The joy is that I'm able to communicate freedom of movement to anybody who gets to see me move. So you get to see a woman who is not constricted by having to look a certain way in movement. You see absolute free movement that's gorgeous, sexy, beautiful, not slutty, all of those things, the normal hooking energy that you get, unfortunately, when women dance, because they're already in creation anyway, doesn't come out from my body.
The focus on the feminine, albeit the Benhayon ideal of it, evidently appeals to UM's predominantly female following. It's difficult to say how much of that appeal comes from sexual imagery and behaviours which lean heavily to female sexuality and female homoeroticism. This video, which I believe was filmed at a retreat in Lennox Head around 2014, is Unimed's take on Middle Eastern dancing. It incorporates Natalie's sacred movement. The women turn to dance with each other, making eye contact, moving provocatively. The marketing of esoteric breast massage insists the modality is only practiced by women for women. It's worth mentioning that a significant proportion of Unimed's women followers, including some of the esoteric breast massage practitioners, are lesbians. The proportion of homosexual women in appears to be higher than in the general population. Men may participate in Unimed's ritual sexiness, or they become part of the audience to the community's female bonding. In a later episode, I'll look at UM's teachings encouraging men to take on more of what Benhayon claims is female energy, encouraging men to be tender, and delicate. What we see in universal medicine's images and behaviours are mixed messages about love, sex, and sexually appropriate behaviour. The question arises, what is this corporation selling? We might also question the appropriateness of an organisation that markets controversial practices with confusing messages, running initiatives for children. As much as it appears to want acceptance from the wider community, is not open to questions or criticism. Inevitably, that causes conflict.
Oh no, wait till we get rape. Wait till we get to rape, then you can applaud. Ladies, you can applaud me, and I'm wearing pink for you.
But every single word in that is an absolute lie. And this is important, and I only read this morning, but just by feeling, I can tell you it's a lie. For the first female astronomer, there is websites out there totally laced with feminist consciousness who hail Hypatia as the first woman this and the first woman that, and use that as now, add to their story because they say she was killed for being a woman. She wasn't killed for being a woman. She was killed for what she was doing and representing in mainstream society with the esoteric. Always when they write about the death of Hypatia, it's disputed what actually happened. You can read all different versions of it. I can assure you that an incited, aggravated, and very lost control, astral-fueled group of monks would not strip a woman like Hypatia bare and not rape her. The raping aspect was important in the sense of wanting to break her. They didn't break her, but wanting to break her. But even if they couldn't break her, they wanted to be able to break everybody else. In other words, people would know about the gang rape, and therefore that would send the message back to everybody else. Does that make sense? Then they beat her, and then the skinning of the flesh is actually a very deliberate astral ritual. So part of taking off the flesh and burning her body, and I'm pretty sure they paraded some of it through the town as a bit of a conquest. In other words, so that people could see and be intimidated by what had happened, is actually a message to say, do not bring the esoteric into temporal life. Flesh is the temporal physical world.
I was just going to further what you said, Serge, that what I got out of Natalie's presentation is that the gang rape and attack of her had nothing to do with her. It was an attack on everyone else.
Yep.
As she presented. That's exactly what it is, yeah. And so when we don't stand up, we're the ones who are being attacked.
That's exactly what I said in 2012 when the media lashed out, and I said very clearly, don't ever think this is an attack on me. Before me, no one has exposed this model to this level. No one has. Pythagoras did, very few people have. And that's the model hates being reflected. The model hates the mirror of what is truth, because it's horrible. And it doesn't. And we're not talking about an authoritarian Roman Catholic Church or a militant fascist government. We're talking about people in society. Universal medicine is not liked in this community because we have standards they cannot meet, and they have funding for social services and charities, and they hate the fact that we are reflecting true charity, true social services, true family, a true community, etc., etc., etc. So